Peace and blessings to the chosen, Shalom. First and foremost, all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the bonds to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the Akim, pushing this truth with sincerity and charity, risking their lives and freedom to do so. I'm the brother Yalad here, responding to this comment made by this individual. And honestly, I'm not comprehending what he's saying here. But in response to my video, he said that Leah had multiple nations in her womb according to this doctrine. Now, is he saying according to the doctrine that I'm speaking, or is he saying according to the Joseph doctrine, in which I replied that the Joseph doctrine is false because it states that the sons of Joseph are of the same complexion when Hosea 7 and 8 said otherwise. And Hosea 7 and 8 said Ephraim had mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. And I go all into it in this video as to why many of Ephraim look like the other nations. Or they have a mingling of appearance in the visual. But I don't understand what he's saying here. So in order to break this belief of multiple nations coming out of the womb of Leah, first off, this alone is a cut. The Egyptian wife. And I really went to go look into that to further get into that. So when you go down here in the Genesis 41 and 50, this is Potiphar, which is the father of Joseph's wife. It says an Egyptian priest of Onan, the father of Asethna, the wife of whom Pharaoh gave to Joseph. So if the mother of all of the descendants of Joseph, right, was an Egyptian, does that make all of the sons and daughters of Joseph Egyptians? Does it? Does it then? This is the question. Because here we are in that precept where it says in Genesis 41 and 50, unto Joseph were born two sons before the years of the famine came, which Asethna, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of Onan, bare unto him. Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said he had made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second son called Ephraim, for God had caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Because otherwise, and we have Numbers 1 and 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls. Didn't say nothing about the mothers. And I believe it's another precept about that. Let's see. But this is one of them that hold on for a second. Forgive me. This is one of them that talk about, and I'm very confident there's another precept that really goes into the seed of your father determines your nation. Ooh, forgive me, I don't know why. All of a sudden now, it's Satan. Now my nose ain't with me. Forgive me though. But I'm confident it's another precept that talks about the lineage comes from the father's side. And in fact, so much we gonna have to take it there to really cut this, if anybody believes it. From Matthew, the first chapter, all the way down. The genealogy of Yahushai Hamashiach. Yahushai being who they ignorantly call Jesus, Ha being the, and Mashiach, Messiah. Right? It says the book of the generation of Yahushua Mashiach, son of David, son of Abraham, and it just goes down, son of son, so and so. Now, somewhere along the line, David's grandmother is Ruth, right? And when you just go to the name Ruth, right? We just go to it in the blue letter. We just gonna get right to it. It says, Ruth, ancestor of David and of Hamashiach. Oh, hold on. Wait. What wasn't the Ruth a Moabite? Wasn't she? So did that make David Chinese? Like, no, let's get down to the bread and butter. Let's did that if you go down and I had to assess the situation even further. So apparently I believe it was Solomon, right? And I got it somewhere in here. Solomon had a wife that was called Naamah, which was an Ammonitist. It wasn't Solomon. I believe it's Rehoboam. No, it was Solomon. Because in the precept here, 1 Kings 14, it says in 31, and Rehoboam slept with his fathers, meaning he went to the spirit world. He rested with his fathers before him. It says, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And his mother's name was Naamah the Ammonitess, and Abijam, his son, reigned in his stead. Hold on. So Solomon went with an Ammonite woman and begat Rehoboam. If I'm saying that right, begot. But did that make Rehoboam an Ammonite? Because then don't that make the Lord? Don't that, if we talking about Yahweh Shai coming out of, David and Rehoboam and coming out of the loins of these men, and even I found here it says Abiah right here in the Matthew, but in the Old Testament is Abijah. Let's see. Let me grab. Where was I at? Okay. So when you go to this precept, Matthew 1:7, the Abiah is really saying Abijah because you go to Asa, it says son of Abijah, king of Judah. So the Abiah is more so with the Greek coming out, because it was however the New Testament spelled it different from the Old Testament. That happens sometimes with like the prophet Isaiah is Isaias or Isaias. The prophet Elijah may be called Elias, or something along those lines. But this is that same bloodline from Abijah to Asa down to Yahweh Shai from Joseph, and Joseph indeed was the father. The Joseph with the Mary, not the Joseph from this Joseph doctrine, but the point being, does that make the Lord Yahweh Shai? Does that make him a Moabite? Does that make him an Ammonite? Because that's not the case. The scripture says we know that he sprung out the loins of Judah. So just because you have certain Israelites whose mothers were not Israelites, does that make them no longer Israelites? No, that's not the case. We clearly just went over the fact that it's the seed that makes the nation. So this is why you have a last name that comes from your father, not your mother. You see, and it generally is the father's last name that's carried and brought down the line, because that's the lineage. So this idea that even if he was agreeing with me on this, if someone is out there believing that, this is cut, because there's no way. Multiple nations out of Leah's womb is no way. And in fact, there's nothing written to say that there's new nations coming out of because of a heathen mother. That's false. What else I had, man? Because that I had to clarify that quite quickly and surely. Yeah. No, that's all I had on that. Um, just to summarize everything I said, basically, the the bloodline of the nation is intacted by the father's seed. So whatever Israelites went outside of their own nation to deal with heathen women or Gentile women, or and by Gentile, I can't even really go too much deep into it because that's another conversation. But there's two sets of Gentiles, and that there's Gentiles that are actually heathen, and then there's Gentiles that are Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites. They just got lost among the heathen. And this is that alone actually shows you that we were mixed and scattered among the other nations. We were scattered among them, and some of us that are among them look like them and may not necessarily know yet that they come from the bloodline, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is not talking about the mothers here. So that's just to clarify that and summarize everything I'm saying here is that just because there were other nations for mothers does not make you another nation outside of that. These sons of Joseph, of the northern kingdom, are not descendants of Egyptians. They are not, just because their mother was an Egyptian, they're not Egyptian at all. But nevertheless, I hope it was edifying. Shalom.